Give me an I. Give me an O. Give me a C. What does that spell? There's no such thing as bad sport. That's our motto here on the Almanac. But it's okay to think some sports are better than others. And without wanting to belittle any Olympic sport, there's simply no reason that the gravity-defying spectacle of teamwork, timing and daring that is cheerleading shouldn't already be part of the games. And if you're thinking we're talking about pom-poms and catchy chants, then you're in for a pleasant surprise. There's a reason no sport in the UK is growing faster for girls' participation, and over 9,000 athletes from over 40 countries are about to gather in Orlando to see who is the best on the planet. This is Cheerleading, and this is the Sporting Almanac podcast. Give me an H. Give me an I. What does that spell?
Hello? No, it spells hi.
Close enough. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you.
There's been quite a lot of episodes that we've had in the past where we have spoken about subject matters that we have learnt in the sort of week or two before we've done our research on. And obviously we're not naturally experts at it. We didn't know much about Gaelic football. We didn't know much about volleyball, for example. But, you know, we do our research and present ourselves as best as possible. And anyone who likes the sport will probably look at us and today, or listen to us and think, wow, these guys know absolutely nothing. But today, Ben, we don't need to be experts because we have an interview with a genuine expert, my friend Kelly, who knows everything about this sport. She's been participating for 20 years and we'll give you the interview in a bit. She is very good. She's far better than we are.
She is very good, yeah. I mean, you should have offered her a anchor role, and we should have just just change the title of the podcast and just turn it into a cheerleading devoted one because you know.
Well, Kelly was kind enough actually to tell me that she had actually been on a podcast before, and I was like, oh, well, what was that experience like, Kelly? And she was like, oh, they took me to a studio. It was soundproof walls. Sat me down, gave me a drink. You know, had a proper interview face to face with someone, and I'm just like literally sat in her living room with my microphone propped up in a McDonald's chip packet to keep it upright because I just bought a McDonald's to, you know, butter her up before the interview. And I'm like, yeah, there's two ways of doing podcasts. So on that note, I'll apologise. It's not the best sounding interview in the world, but Kelly speaks so eloquently that you can hear her at least.
Yeah, and I'm
just a mumbling idiot in the background.
Yeah, we're not the most sophisticated operation in the world, but I've heard the interview and it's very good. So
yeah.
Yeah, well, you can play that in a moment, but before we do, I mean, I'm looking forward to this as well because I put this in the category of archery in terms of the sort of subjects that we've spoken about before, like genuinely learning stuff, really fascinating, huge event coming up. The reason, obviously, we're doing it is because it is the World Cheerleading Championships.
It is, and it is a proper world event, as Kelly will tell you far more eloquently than I soon. It's teams from all over the world, including the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom aren't half bad at this. Obviously, the Americans are the best. They have the most teams. They've been doing it for a lot longer than everyone else. But, you know, it is good to hear that the United Kingdom, led by some excellent coaching, including Kelly, got to throw her that bone early on, are catching up. And it's, you know, it's good to hear.
She talks about a lot of stuff in the interview because, you ask her to, but also she volunteers a lot of stuff on all the relevant things, access, the roles, safety, types of routines you might see, championships, judging, and I think most importantly, and you'll probably agree here, does some myth busting.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's it. Like, you ask 100 people in the street of the United Kingdom, describe a cheerleader for me, and the first thing they probably say is a short skirt and pom-poms, because that's what we've seen, isn't it? That's what we've all watched on Bring It On and the like.
Yes.
Back in the day.
And we'll talk about that after the interview, but it is very informative. It does correct some of those stereotypes. Yeah, mate, over to you. You might as well play it.
Yeah, I will do. And before I start all this, I will have to say there's a little bit of a debate about, you know, legitimacy of this as a sport, and I think the debate is anchored in the fact that that's what people think cheerleading is. if for 1 second you've got this far into this and you're thinking, cheerleading sport? Why is a sport podcast talking about this? YouTube. Watch what they do. That's all I'm going to say. Now over to someone who knows far, far, far more than me. This is my interview with my friend Kelly. Cool. Let's do this. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me into your home.
It is all good. Thank you for inviting me to speak on the podcast.
Oh, well, no, the pleasure is all ours. I'm sorry Ben can't be here to do this, but...
It's fine. You brought me McDonald's. We're good.
You're letting people behind the curtain nice and early. I didn't have to bribe you. You'd already agreed to it.
Yes.
Just me being nice. I'm a nice guy. Anyway, so, for the benefit of our listeners, who the hell are you?
Who the hell am I? So I am Kelly Loughlin, and I am a wonderful friend of Jack's from 20 years past.
I really wish
at
you had
Sheffield
said that.
University. It is 20 years in September.
It
20
is, yeah.
years. So when we were all fresh-faced, wonderful, innocent 18-year-olds, we all became fantastic friends on a random corridor in an annex.
A smelly corridor.
A very smelly. I will add that I did not live on said smelly portion, but you definitely did, Jack.
I definitely did. I'm not claiming responsibility for all the smell. Like a sixth of it, maybe. But yeah, so why have I invited you on today? I should probably tell you. You should probably tell me.
Okay. Well, I've been invited onto the podcast today because we are here to talk about the wonderful, marvellous sport of cheerleading, which gets very, very little recognition on a public scale and is normally known to us in the circles, but not so much outside of it. So we're here to kind of change that perception, hopefully.
Yeah, well, it leads me on to my first question. What is the biggest misconception people have about cheerleading?
Ooh, now we are talking. So, biggest misconception. Obviously, I'm sure we all remember the days of Heroes and Bring It On and everything to do with cheerleading being a sport relating to tiny skirts and little pom-poms.
I'm nodding along here, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it well.
I'm sure you do.
I was 13 at the time, so
absolutely,
yeah,
yeah. Absolutely. So this is kind of the misconception that we are hoping to not necessarily leave completely in the past, because it's become a bit of a side quest to the heritage of the sport that we do, but something that we wish to kind of make people aware is not the primary endeavour of our sport. It is an extremely athletic activity encompassing acrobatic gymnastics and death-defying stunting and floor-based tumbling with a little bit of dance and sass in there as well. It's very much a performance-based sport.
Yeah, and I have obviously seen it because I know you, and you have given me this conversation plenty of times before.
Yes.
It is very, very fun to watch. It is scary to watch.
It is.
I can imagine it's even more scary if you know the participants or you're participating in it yourself. But yeah, it's proper. It's people are doing death-defying things, dangerous things. Obviously, people have had a bit more access to it recently. There's been Netflix TV shows.
There has, yeah.
I don't know what you think about those shows.
I'm happy to comment. I do happen to know quite a lot of the participants within the TV shows themselves. I have coached some of them, actually.
Excellent.
So I did a season over in 2014 over in Pennsylvania in the States, and many of those participants that obviously have now received fame on the TV show itself were either my students or my co-coaches. So
there you go.
So for the vast majority of them, I'm extremely happy for their sort of success and fame and how that's propelled them in the world.
So how did you yourself, how did you get into cheerleading in the first place?
Well, it all goes back to that 20 years ago lovely experience back at University of Sheffield. So I remember going round the Freshers' Fair. I'm sure anyone that's been to university will recall their Freshers' Fair very fondly, and came across the cheerleading stand. And after a very significant history of doing gymnastics as a younger child, I thought, oh, this kind of looks quite similar. This looks quite fun. I'm sure I've got a lot of cross skills that might work here. And obviously, when you go to university and you're looking for things like that, you're looking for niches and places to kind of feel belonging and societies to kind of make lots of friends and things like that. And I think my first idea when I first went to Sheffield was just to do everything that took my fancy, to try and see everything that I could get around. And cheerleading stuck. And it stuck in a way that I could not possibly have imagined at the time, but it really, really did stick. And from that point onward, after Freshers' Fair, when I went to my very first Give It a Go session, they do all those. Yeah, they still happen now. Yeah. They're still a thing. They still happen now. And I was then part of the university team for 18 months before then moving on to what's known as an all-star team. So all-star teams are cheerleading teams that train in their own right.
Yeah.
So they don't support a football team or a basketball team or whatever like the university teams sometimes do. They are their own team doing their own competitive routines to compete at cheerleading competitions.
Very good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I remember Freshers' Fair walking into the American football stand. I did not have the staying power of you in that one. As soon as I realised how painful that sport was, I quickly gave it up.
Oh, it can't have been more painful than cheerleading, Jesus. It's
I wouldn't want to comment. At least you get padding in American football.
Absolutely, you get no such thing in cheerleading. Just
if you're lucky, you'll fall on someone else.
Yeah, but if you're the one at the bottom, that's not so fun.
Fair enough.
Not so fun.
Fair enough. So, for us mere mortals, how would you describe the sport? What are the real key aspects of the sport a participant needs?
Right. So in terms of if you're planning to be a participant within this sport, I think the biggest thing you need to be aware of is that it is a team sport like no other. Normally when you do a team sport such as football or rugby or cricket or any of the more traditional team sports, it's quite common for obviously people to just be aware of the game and how the game works. And obviously if everybody knows how to play the game, you can switch people in and out, and it's quite easy if somebody is not available that day, you just put somebody else in.
Yes.
Granted, they might not be as talented as the one that is not there.
Very much nodding along to this.
You understand,
I've shoved several people in the left back who didn't want to be there in my coaching days.
Exactly. So presumably, as long as you understand the rules of the game that you are playing, it's quite easy to make that work. Cheerleading is entirely different. So there are very, very different jobs within cheerleading. You normally have teams. To be fair, we can have teams as small as 5 participants, like that does happen. And then teams go up to 32, 33 athletes. Normally, your median point is anywhere between 19 and 21.
Yeah.
And every single person on that team is learning a routine. That's the whole point of doing competitive cheerleading. You learn a particular routine. It's normally 2.5 minutes long. And somebody else may not be able to do your job.
Yes.
So the person that's coming in for you might not be able to throw the exact same gymnastic skills that you have spent years perfecting. They might not be a base. Maybe they're a flyer and they're smaller and they need to go in the air and they go, oh, actually, you need to base today. Yeah. Like it's very, very difficult. So if you're going to become a cheerleader and be a part of cheerleading, respecting the fact that it is a team sport and it requires dedication and commitment to your team is absolutely paramount.
I imagine team cohesion is far more important.
Huge.
I mean, you think about replacing a thrower, I don't know if that's the right term.
Base,
yes. Do correct me if I'm wrong. I will be wrong many times. With someone else, maybe they don't have quite the same speed of release or the same height that you get with it. So you have to quickly get used to that and correct in the air.
You do.
Whereas not quite so danger-inducing in football. Worst case scenario, your left back might not be where he's supposed to be and the pass might go to the winger and you might concede a goal. It's not quite the same thing as breaking a collarbone. Yeah.
Famous quote that we use quite a lot in football is, if in football, the worst thing you can drop is the ball.
Yes.
In cheerleading, you are throwing people. People are getting thrown.
I think that's very much fair.
Yeah.
That's a good quote as well. I like that. The World Championships.
The World Championships.
Tell us about the World Championships.
Ooh, the World Championships. So we are entering, within cheerleading, our 20th anniversary.
Wow.
Of the World Championships being around. I mean, bear in mind, it has been a very, very embedded sport in the United States of America for many, many years. Obviously, they are significantly ahead of the game, and we are all playing catch-up. However, we are playing a very good game of catch-up. We are probably somewhere in line around like the Canadian teams and the Scandinavian teams who are extremely good at cheerleading. South American teams are coming through. And just in there's us, the United Kingdom. We're kind of nipping at the heels of the Americans, and we are now getting to the point where some of the UK teams are now winning the World Championships in various divisions.
I mean, that's excellent.
Which is very, very it's very new thing for us. It's only maybe, I think it was 2022. We had our very first, they're called globes in cheerleading. So you have gold, bronze, silver globes. And our first gold globe was won by the wonderful Unity All Stars Black, who are based in London.
Very
nice. They kind of set the precedent for things coming through now, where we are seeing a lot more globes going home to the UK, and that's really, really special.
Amazing.
It is.
It's good to hear, and it's good to hear that we're not at the bottom. It's not the bottom of the hill.
Absolutely
no. We are climbing that hill.
We are very much climbing that hill. I mean, the differences that I've seen, even from joining nearly 20 years ago to the current day, is absolutely astronomical. The growth that we've seen. In fact, it is still to this day, I believe, for the 19th year running, the fastest growing sport for girls in the country.
I'm not surprised. And as we've mentioned many times in this show, usually in relation to women's football, the more success you have, the more people you have joining and playing the game, and the more success you have in the future, it snowballs.
It does.
And so, great to hear.
Yeah.
Right, so judges at the World Championships, what are they looking for? What is a good routine?
A good routine. So a good routine encompasses fantastic stunting to the level that you are at. So there are 7 different levels in cheerleading, level 1 through to level 7. At Worlds, you compete level 5, 6 or 7. It's the very, very top levels. There are plenty of wonderful world-based opportunities for your levels 1 through to 4. But your level 5, 6 and 7 go to the ISF World Championships, and that is their main pinnacle event. Like, obviously, for our sport, we don't have yet the Olympics. We have just been confirmed as an Olympic pathway sport. So we're waiting for an Olympic Games to choose us as their sport, to introduce it into the Olympic Games. I'm sure that will happen soon, fingers crossed. But as of right now, we don't have the Olympics, we don't have the Commonwealth Games, we have the World Championship. So this is our absolute top-end pinnacle of what we do. So you're looking for stunts that rival the absolute top end of the level, looking for tumbling that's encompassing a huge amount of athletes. So the more tumble passes that you can throw in a routine, obviously the higher your score goes.
Yeah.
And then you have a whole score sheet that's based on your performance and your routine composition and everything to do with that, and your dance and the way that you project your routine.
Very good.
Yeah. So it's only in a particular branch of Worlds called ICU Worlds where you have to do what's called the chant. I'm sure many people will be aware of Go Team Go, all of that kind of things. It's actually very, very rare. I did ICU Worlds in 2013 and I represented England while doing it. And having to learn the chant felt like an extremely alien concept for a British cheerleader who'd never been that preppy before. That was an experience.
Like, part of me thinks it seems secondary to the actual sport, what's going on, and maybe it should be something that's left in the past. But then I can imagine it's also a new challenge in terms of getting your timings right, in terms of getting your
it is. I mean,
right.
At that particular at that particular Worlds, they do score the chant as a whole separate entity. I mean, within the chant, there's props, there's megaphones, there's holding signs. We're still getting thrown and chucked about, but they're doing it whilst holding things. So there is challenges there. But at the main sort of all-star level, we don't do a chant. It's stunting, tumbling, and performance. And then obviously your execution of what you're doing is significant. So you also have a 4th judge whose literal job is to take points off you when things go wrong.
Oh, that's nice. I bet they're fun parties.
It really is. It's a nice fun aspect. But what's grown over the years is the culture of what's called hitting zero. So if that judge cannot take a single point off you, you have therefore received 0 deductions, which is known as hitting zero. So the big culture of hitting zero in our sport has now become huge. And this is obviously good for us because it drives technique, it drives execution, it drives safety.
Yes.
Making sure that people aren't doing stupid things to try and get higher scores from the other judges. Yeah. Because that judge is going to be like, nope, you dropped somebody on their head. That is 6 points right off straight there. Yeah. So it's a good thing for us to be able to kind of drive the hitting zero, and that's a big thing that we all strive for.
I mean, thank you for mentioning safety, because that was my next question.
Absolutely.
I was feeling that was going to be a bit of a non sequitur until you did that, but it's a high-risk sport, obviously.
It absolutely is, yes.
How do you manage safety while still pushing boundaries, essentially?
Right. Well, I think the most important thing for safety is to make sure that they are progressed well. So we start very much grassroots. So when you see all of these things that you'll have seen on Netflix's Cheer, and anything that you'll see on like very high level routines, such as if anyone's YouTubing, you're looking at TGLC, you're looking at Cheer Extreme Senior Elite, like routines like that. When you start when they're very little, my daughter is 3.5 and she has just started. They are starting literally by just being on the floor, picking up a leg, waving, learning how to do a forward roll. So getting the foundations there are absolutely crucial. It's very, very rare that an athlete will jump straight into a top level. They have to learn how to do all of the basics first. And even the very, very top athletes, they are still doing their basics every single week. Learning to pick somebody up and keep them safe is an absolute cornerstone of our sport. Yeah,
and I suppose that's another benefit to it becoming more popular.
Yeah.
Is obviously schools get bigger and they have younger and younger teams, and competitors can start younger and younger.
They can.
And it becomes second nature to them, the safety aspects that you talk about. So Yeah.
And again, that's a huge culture thing as well. And I know our gym certainly, and many, many other gyms in the country are very much like, we protect each other, we keep our athletes safe. We do teach them how to fall, especially in the first instances, how to not fall to the point where you're going to kick your base in the face, which does happen.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, like, how difficult is it to sort of build trust when you are a flailing pile of limbs probably the first time you try anything?
It is. It's very difficult. And this is where the whole team cohesion things come back into it. Like, you have to find that perfect team fit. You really, really do. It's so important. And when you have a team that just click and get it, they are all in it for each other. They're in it for themselves, but they're in it for each other more than they're in it for themselves.
Yeah.
And they're keeping each other safe and they're looking after each other. And that's when the magic happens.
Yeah. I imagine it's a very good feeling as a coach when you get that moment.
It is. I mean, there's significant ups and downs. It's a hard road, especially at the top. You know, it's a very, very difficult road to make sure that they're constantly being pushed and challenged. But when they get it, it really is magic.
Yeah,
I
suppose
is magic.
Managing stress as well, especially with time limits. Like, you have to have this ready by the whatever day in April it is.
Yes. World Championships, ISF World Championships are 26th and 27th of April. So we are getting very close.
Very close.
Very
indeed,
close.
Yeah. Speaking of that, what would you say in your years coaching?
Yes.
What is your proudest moment?
Ooh, that's tough. We've had lots of wonderful proud moments. We had the first year that our athletes were called up for Team England. You know, that was a huge moment for us.
Yeah.
And that year they also won gold. They beat the USA team, which has never happened in 20 years. That was one of the world's biggest shocks, but they did it and our kids were on that team.
That's miracle on ice level stuff.
It really was. So you could have, I wish I'd filmed the arena when that was announced, when Team USA were announced in second and Team England were announced in first. I don't think I've ever heard anything like it. It was absolutely ridiculous. So that was a very proud moment for us. And then that has continued to happen. So every year since then, we have had more and more kids, different kids as well, be called up for Team England. And we've got 8 going this year to Team England. So while we're out there for the World Championships in Orlando, Florida, we'll be popping down to see them do Team England as well as all the other various things that we're doing. So that was a hugely proud moment. Yeah.
Fantastic. So if everything goes perfectly,
yes,
what does good look like this year?
Oh, what does good look like? For ISF Worlds, for us, it will be making finals.
Yeah.
So you have preliminaries and you have finals. And the way that the international divisions work at Worlds is a little bit different. And essentially, you have to be amongst the top 3 teams from your country.
Yeah.
They like to ensure that there's fairness around the world. They obviously understand that the USA are significantly far ahead of the game. So obviously, if it was just a straight pitting of 60 teams, I'm sure the top 30 would absolutely be 95% plus USA representation. So what they like to do is it's literally the top 3 teams from each country. So if, say, the USA enter 18 teams, still the top 3. If the UK have 4 teams, still the top 3. It's not necessarily fair, but it's equitable to try and like even out those, the inequities that we're seeing.
It's a world championship.
But we are catching up.
Yeah, it's a world championships. And what they want to happen is at some point in the years, it might be 20 years from now, it might be 40 years from now, the best 60 teams make the finals regardless of where they're from.
And this is a huge level of debate. You know, there's a big, there's a fence and there's a big side of nope, it should be the top 50% regardless of where they're from, or no, let's keep the country representations. But this is how it is right now. So for us, success will look like making day 2. Being the top 3 teams from our country. That will be very successful for us.
Good luck.
We'll be thrilled. Yeah.
Good luck with that. And
thank you.
I think probably most important question really for any young athletes listening, how do you get into cheerleading? What's the pathway?
How do you get into cheerleading? So I think most of the times if you head to Sport Cheer England, you will find what's a little map of where you can kind of input your postcode and find your closest team. And from there, you will find some contact details. And most of the time, you literally contact the club that's nearest to you and they will arrange for you to come in for a trial. I know when we come in, they come in for a 2-week trial. They come in and try the team and see how they like it. And at the end of that 2-week trial, we'll make them an offer. And I know that most teams work in that way.
Good. And within different age groups, is there sort of different levels developed?
Absolutely, yeah. So, you normally start, we take them from 3 and then they go all the way up to adult age. So I've got a full team of very advanced adult age cheerleaders.
Excellent.
Who are hoping to bid for the World Championship that we're about to head to with our younger teams. They're hoping to be able to go next year as their team themselves. So essentially, we are very lucky that we cater genuinely for all ages and all levels. We have something for everyone. We're one of the bigger programs in the UK. but most teams will have a good breadth too.
Is the adults team made up a lot of graduates, as you call them? Essentially,
absolutely, yeah.
You've come through the youth system.
Yes.
It reminds me a bit of our football club, actually, at Wigginton. We set up a ladies' team for the first team a couple of years ago, and we did that on the basis of having a successful girls' pathway for a number of years, and then the girls graduated, as it were, finished the under-18s, set up a women's team. Yeah. So it's quite a young women's team, although there's a few experienced players in there as well. So, it shows that the club is moving in the right direction.
It is. I coach the adults. They're wonderful. We have a lovely time. But again, they're all adults, with jobs and other commitments and things like that. And it's hard to work around sometimes. But yes, absolutely, with the dodgy knees and the dodgy wrists and everything else that happens when you grow up.
Yes, it happens. Well, I mean, thank you. I think one thing that I don't think you've mentioned enough is what is your club and where can people find you?
So we are White Rose Cheer and we're based in Gildersome in Leeds. So that's where you can find us.
Excellent. Cool. Well,
amazing.
Thank you for joining us today. Do you have anything else you want to say before we finish?
No, just anybody that wants to learn any more about cheerleading, feel free to obviously get in contact with myself or with Jack or Ben. And if anybody finds anything that to do with cheerleading in their area, especially for younger girls, I would absolutely recommend joining. It's a fantastic team sport. They learn significant life lessons, so much more than just cheer.
Excellent. Cool. Well, thank you.
Amazing.
Appreciate that.
She knows what she's talking about. She does know what she's talking about. And the thing that I think I already knew this, but the thing that comes across really nicely and Kelly puts far more articulately is this sport, it caters for it all. Super athletic.
Yeah.
Expressive, artistic, strong, fit, tough, teamwork, discipline.
Yeah, I can't put it better myself. I mean, there is a level for everyone and everyone has a level. And it's a sport you can start, as Kelly mentioned, her daughter, 3.5 years old, already started along a pathway that could one day lead to these world championships, all being well, should she wish to do that. And she will have the best coach available to her at her beck and call. So, if she wants to, I've no doubt she'll make it. But
it's got the rugbies about it.
It's just such a fast-growing sport. Like, as Kelly said, it is the fastest-growing sport for girls in the UK.
Crazy that.
And that's up against football, which is obviously taking an absolute skyrocket for good reason in recent years. I think it was 37% of schools now in the UK. There's some sort of access to it at school level.
Nice.
And as well as, of course, there's clubs opening up all over the place.
Universities.
So that's universities as well, of course.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
It's a very good thing. Yeah.
Kelly's sort of been there for the growth of this sport. She started in 2006. Obviously, there was growth before that, but she's seen it all.
Yeah, from start to finish, really, in terms of British cheerleading.
Well, not to finish yet. There's more to go. That's the exciting thing. As I said, they're climbing the hill.
Yeah.
They're not at the top yet, but they're also not at the bottom.
Hopefully it'll turn into something that sort of resembles what you see in the States. I mean, maybe it'll never quite get to the scale just because of the cultural aspect of it, but you could easily see it becoming, a very mainstream sport particularly for girls, but for blokes as well. Co-ed mixed cheerleading is a big thing. Yeah,
the ultimate end game, of course, is the Olympics. It is an Olympic pathway sport.
When she said that, I thought that was so cool. I didn't know that. Look, they've got breakdancing. Like, let's just get on with it. Yeah. Let's get them in here. This is insane.
I was disappointed, actually, because I heard it was an Olympic pathway sport, and then they announced the sports for Los Angeles. And I was like, if you're going to do it anyway,
do you know
why are
what I mean?
Los Angeles not doing this? That's an potential American gold in the bag.
Yeah.
Obviously, with some competitors, obviously, from the likes of Canada, the UK, Latin American countries, as she said. But it's disappointing that they didn't. But 2032, I think Brisbane is it 2032.
Australia is like that.
We'll see. I don't know if they've announced anything yet.
You could definitely see it, couldn't you? In an Australian games, they love their sport. We always say that about the Aussies. They're probably
love their breakdancing.
The most sports mad country in the world. I think that's the thing, though. If you're letting in things like breakdancing, with all due respect to breakdancing, which doesn't have the sort of breadth of popularity from a sporting perspective that cheerleading has, then, like, come on. Who are the decision makers here? Is it the IOC, Jack? Have we ever said anything bad about them before?
I mean, maybe we should stop now if we want to ever persuade them to take this up. Not that we are obviously doing anything whatsoever to persuade them compared to the Kelly and her peers who've been doing this for many a year. But no, I mean, the IOC or the IOC. I look at this and I compare it to sports in my head, like rhythmic gymnastics, for example, which doesn't have any of the danger aspect to it, but has a lot of the artistry involved in it and a lot of the tumbling and things like that. And it's just as one example, like I look at that and say, well, if that's a sport, then cheerleading is 10 times over because it's so dangerous. And sport doesn't have to be dangerous, obviously. I mean, plenty of people playing golf who are being kept alive by medical science. But it doesn't make any less of a sport. But
no, but it is risky. If you look at
cheerleading,
I mean, most people's exposure to cheerleading is probably Cheer on Netflix, and if you've watched Cheer on Netflix, and Kelly mentioned it briefly on the interview, it follows Navarro College's Bulldogs cheer team, and they're basically in the National Cheerleading Championship at Daytona Beach under a tutelage of a woman called Monica Aldama, who is like a 16-time NCAA national champ or something. I think there are categories. I think it's the Advanced Large Co-ed Junior College Division, for those who are interested. But there's a heap of girls in that. It's co-ed, so there are boys in it too. But there's a heap of girls in it who the documentary, if you like, focuses on heavily. One of them is Maddie Brum. I think there's Gabriella Butler. Yeah, there's others. Anyway, they are gymnasts, mate. Like they are extremely talented. They're doing backflips. They're getting chucked miles in the air. They're being caught by dudes that have been hitting the gym all week. Like, it is a serious sport at that level. So like
it's extreme team gymnastics. Yeah, essentially, it's the same. Very similar core skills in terms of balance, in terms of bravery, in terms of daring, and obviously the athleticism involved. But then it's the team coordination aspect as well. And you've got synchronized swimming at the Olympics. There's obviously a similar level of team coordination, but you're not doing that, 20 feet in the air while doing a backflip.
Yeah.
And again, not to belittle that sport. All Olympic sports are wonderful. All sports are wonderful, but it is absolutely a sport, and it absolutely would deserve an Olympic place. And I think it would be one of those sports. We talk about the Olympics, talk about this with the Winter Olympics. You become the biggest fan of a sport once every 4 years. I think there's so many people who
would watch it.
Adore it.
Yeah, everyone would watch it.
And that snowball effect goes on and on and on then.
Yeah.
Like, you see it on TV and you have people to aspire to. We've already got 37% of schools offering this a thing. Well, clubs are skyrocket.
And if you're a bloke listening to this
demand,
and the testosterone's coursing through the veins and the brain's on a loop going, I wouldn't like cheerleading, just accept the fact that you're wrong, and you would be what's the word I'm looking for, Jack? Seduced by cheerleading.
Mesmerized, yeah.
Mesmerized is a good word. Seduced has got too many connotations. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, mesmerized, I think, is the right word. It would lure you in, and you would be a sucker. Like diving. Everyone is a huge diving fan when the Olympics comes around, because it's genuinely fascinating, and I think cheerleading would have the same effect on people.
I'm trying to think of a comparative Olympic sport where it's not just, obviously, you're overawed by the talent on show and the athleticism and just impressed by that generally, but you also have that sort of like genuine like nerves. Like, if something goes wrong here, it goes really wrong. It's like going to a rodeo almost, and I have been to a few rodeos. It is, I mean, say what you want about rodeos, I'm not comparing that to cheer. I know which I'd prefer to be at the Olympics, put it that way, but it's like, if something goes wrong, it could go really, really wrong. And I've got a few stats with relation to how risky cheerleading is. This is obviously based on the USA, because that's where the data comes from. So cheerleading is the cause of 50% of serious injuries to female athletes in the US.
Whoa.
It's crazy. And we're talking concussions, head and neck injuries, fractures, obviously falls related. So ACL injuries are really common as well.
Yeah.
And obviously with concussions, repeated concussions, we know the long-term damage that can cause. And in terms, if you ramp that up and you say catastrophic injuries, it's 70.5% at college level and 65.2% at high school level. It's so dangerous, and I don't want to put people off doing it. Obviously, there are ways you can mitigate this danger, and all sports have an inherent risk to them. But yeah, high school cheerleaders apparently an average of 3.8 injuries during their high school career.
It's just very impressive is what it is, because obviously, let's say these girls, let's focus on the women for a change, are like they're taking risks. It's the risks that bring a degree of fascination to a sport. The same reason why people like fast racing, because if you crash, it's spectacular or what have you. But like, it's being combined with like, there's obviously a bravery to it, but there's a skill to it, there's a discipline to it. Yeah, mate, it's got all the elements of an excellent sport.
It is, and they know the risks. It's been very well laid out to them. You hope that all the teams are mitigating those risks as well as they possibly can. And all that leaves is you have a bunch of people who are not only supremely talented, but they're so brave and they're so reliant on one another in terms of that trust, that bond, the timing, and the confidence you have to have in your teammates involved in that. Like, how can anyone question this being a sport for a second? Like, it's a sport. It's in the highest level of this is definitely a sport.
Kelly had me.
Why is this even a thing?
Kelly had me when she said we got some world champs kicking around, mate. And I did a little bit of looking. We do have some world champs. We're mainly from the Unity All Stars Club, who seem to clean up for us. I don't know enough about it, but I suspect that they must be one of our biggest, if not our biggest, almost professional club. But Unity All Stars Royal, Unity All Stars Black are both reigning world champions. Royal in the under-18 small co-ed level 5 division, and Black in the International Open co-ed non-tumbling level 7. So, mate,
very good.
You're spot on. They had me at hello, essentially, for cheerleading purposes. If you'll indulge me, just because I went down the rabbit hole after hearing that we're actually bringing in medals, the medal rush doesn't stop there, mate. We've got some reigning silver medalists as well.
Awesome.
Unity All-Stars Vault, Unity All-Stars Blush in the International Open Small Co-ed Level 5 division and the International Open All-Girl Non-Tumbling Level 7 division, respectively. And we've got some bronze medalists. So Coventry Dynamite, the Lady Grenades, I think, in the International Under-18 All-Girl Level 5, so well done them. And Coventry Dynamite Fear 5, if I'm not mispronouncing that, and there is always a danger that I'm mispronouncing it. They're bronze medalists in the International Open All-Girl Level 5 as well. And Vista Twisters and Unity All-Stars have also got bronze medals. That's 8 medals across 29 divisions, mate. So what Kelly was saying, it's verified in the numbers.
Well, I'm looking at some numbers. You want to hear some numbers? 89,000 athletes in England. This is, or is it? It might be England. It might be the UK. This is on the Cheer England site. So let's say it's probably England. But regardless, 89,000 athletes with 900 odd teams in England alone. So yeah, that's obviously across schools, universities, and all-star clubs.
Yeah.
So it's like
serious.
It's sort of low key a huge club, and I know there's probably. I suppose a lot of it has to do with if you're fortunate enough to have a club near you or your school doing it. And I'm sure there's areas of the UK that are better catered for it. Obviously, you say Coventry and London and Leeds, obviously, of course, have all-star clubs. And then that would have a knock-on effect to the schools nearby. That the coaches could obviously go into the schools and the kids could demand it from the school, whatever it might be. Just like, it's 89,000 is a huge amount of kids.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And or athletes generally doing this sport. It's impressive, and it's going to keep growing if we keep getting these kind of successes. And I can only imagine the direction it'll go in if it does ever become an Olympic sport. I think this will be massive.
I agree. The
goals of the future will have like football, cheer, rugby. It was just so much choice of sports. Like, compare that to like 20, 30 years ago. It's wonderful.
It's great. The trajectory is going one way. That's, like you said, has been achieved in a relatively small and short space of time, all things considered. Do you know the other thing that I thought was really interesting that Kelly said that I wondered what your opinion on was? She said that the World Championships wasn't fair but was equitable, and I really liked that explanation. I'll set my stall out for you, mate. I am on board with that wholeheartedly, and I'll give you an example in a minute, but like, I'm interested in your view.
You're investing in the future of the sport ultimately, like, for the amount of grumblings you might get off American teams or whoever it might be, and I'm sure there is plenty. The whole point of any sport is to grow it to a level where you can have world championships without any sort of restrictions in place. And there have been other sports. I mean, I can think off the top of my head of a few sports in the past, cricket and rugby league being good examples where you've invited more teams into a tournament, maybe offset it slightly somehow in terms of, pre-tournaments and stuff like that, like qualifying tournaments linked to the main tournament or whatever it might be. And then there's teams in the final tournament that, quote unquote, maybe aren't as good as some of the other teams there, but they then have the stage by which they can inspire people. And all those teams then, it's not a hopeless cause. It's an opportunity to them think, oh, well, we have a chance. Everyone has a chance to go and compete on that final day at the Worlds instead of being this massive roadblock in the way and people thinking, oh, what's the point? Why do we bother? The only way I can succeed in this if I get a scholarship and go to America and go to a college in America. It makes it accessible at the highest possible level, and therefore you get more people doing it, more people committing more time to it and seeing a good outcome. And eventually, as I said, however many years it might be down the line, that becomes a relic of the past that you do not need anymore because you've lifted the sport up across the world and beneficial for everyone. People involved, the sponsors get more exposure, the people in charge get more profit, whatever they're looking for, and it's an American, so of course they're looking for profit. And obviously the competitors have more opportunities. It's like, it is to everyone's benefit.
Mate, you've made a very strong case, and from a sports development perspective, from a sports development strategy, that all makes perfect sense. I would go one step back, if you like, and say it's even simpler than that. Clue's in the title.
Yes.
It's not the only sport, right, that does this. Like, think of marathon running is the most extreme example. You could have a field of Kenyans every time in every single major marathon, in the Olympics, in the World Championships. You could just have Kenyans, but you don't, because it's the Olympics, it's the World Championships.
Why does no one ever questions that?
No one would ever question exactly that. And that's because nobody cares that Kenya aren't winning, all the medals, whereas the Americans are a bit more noisy about this kind of thing.
They do tend to be, and we talked about the World Athletics Championships, how brutal the American system is for building their teams, their trials. Is if you don't finish in the top 3, if you're injured that day, if you have a bad run and you finish 4th, you don't get in the team. That's it, because they can only have 3 competitors.
But this is the 100 meters is another example.
They might be, though the top 5 might be 5 of the best 10 sprinters in the world, but 2 of them miss out on the World Championships because that's
the way
how many you're allowed.
And that's the way it goes.
And how's that unfair? You have to be the best in your country to compete
on the world stage. Exactly.
It doesn't change who's the best team overall. And if you get 3 qualifiers, if they are the 3 best teams in the world, they finish 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, which is the same as they would do anyway. What difference does it make to anyone?
Yeah.
Ultimately.
The only unfairness is to the individual. And I understand that. So maybe the 4th best cheer squad this weekend or next week, they may feel hard done by if they look across the pond at the UK and think, oh, we're arguably better than them. Yeah, well, sorry. Go and win your domestic title then. Come 4th in that. The World Championships is for everyone, not just for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm stating that case quite strongly, but in all seriousness, it happens everywhere, not just cheerleading. Nobody in America is being hard done by. If you want a sport to grow globally, you have to have a World Championship. If you want to have a World Championship, everyone's got to be invited, and that's just the way it goes.
This, of course, being a legitimate World Championship and not what America's claim are World Championships, like the Super Bowl,
for example.
Well, to be fair, there was an Australian punter in the Super Bowl this year, so world champions, baby.
Yeah, and very diverse.
And the World Series did have a team from Canada versus a team from the United States. So, global competition there.
Yeah, look, it's a thing that afflicts American sport, isn't it? Sort of, I don't know what you would, again, raising up the status of their own sports to a higher standing.
They invent a sport. They dominate. They're so good at sport. If they invent a sport and no one else does it, of course they're going to dominate. American football's the only real example of that, as we've talked about. But nevertheless,
well, NBA, they call them world champs.
Yeah, they do. But the USA have not won Olympic gold before. It can happen. It doesn't happen often. It can happen.
It can happen. Yeah, that's true.
If they had full contact
American football,
it would be the USA beating. I don't even know who'd come second. Canada, I guess,
would come second,
or Samoa, or similar, some of the Pacific Islands. But yeah, it's World Championships. Legitimate World Championships are good, and to have legitimate World Championships, you have to let other teams compete. Yeah, as you say.
I mean, we're not just competing. So, we already said we're winning. So pipe down, everyone.
Yeah.
Medals. 8 medals across 29 divisions. Don't forget that. Hopefully we can bring home the bacon again.
Indeed.
And hopefully Kelly's team makes a final like she hoped for.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good experience regardless. Like,
insane.
I've seen obviously some of the pictures of them over there, because they've been there for a couple of weeks now, and God, I mean, no matter what happens, it's a hell of a holiday.
Oh God, yeah.
Like at the very, very lowest, most basic level, it's a hell of an experience for these youngsters. And like, I mean, you've been on a international rugby tour before.
Mm-hmm.
I unfortunately didn't go on that, but I have regrets. And
it's awesome. Yeah, because
no matter what
you
happens,
remember it for the rest of your life. And
exactly.
I'm sure they'll be having the best time, and we'll look back on it very fondly until they go again next year.
Indeed. That's a great thing about it.
Annual.
Always next year.
Yeah. Mate, you're kind of exhausting my cheerleading knowledge, so unless I'm probably going to have to defer to you to bring home the episode, if there's anything else that you wanted to touch on before we go.
Well, the only thing I really want to talk about is sort of the history, but it's not really trying to describe it. Like, it's sort of the history of cheerleading is the history of cheering on teams.
Is the Toros versus the Clovers?
Yeah. God, I can't do that because you'll put the songs in my head. We watched that film so much when we were younger. And this is the days we literally had a VCR player and 6 different films, and that was one of them.
Yeah. God. Whose idea was that as well?
Thousands of times. Don't know what limiting how many videos we had.
Well, and also making sure that one of them was, young, attractive women and doing stereotypical cheerleading to 13-year-old boys.
That explains why it was on every day.
And the very serious accusations of plagiarism within that film.
I need to watch it again. I need to refresh. I should have done that before this episode. That's a failure for me. Anyway,
it's not. That's not the actual history.
The Americans will tell you that the history of this is in their universities in the 1860s, sort of Ivy League universities. Students led spectators in the stands, but of course we had universities before they had universities, and
we did.
We had
everything before they
organised sport before they had organised sport for our public schools and the like. And as long as you have a team that you want to do well, you have people cheering them on. As long as you have people cheering them on, you have people leading those cheers. Yeah. So I would go as far as saying,
are you about to tell
invented by us?
Are you about to tell me that our Victorian brothers and sisters are responsible for cheerleading?
Well, they're responsible for a lot of things, Ben. Some of them good, some of them bad. Got to give them the good.
Yeah, but when it comes to sport,
it's just bad.
It's like a clean sweep, isn't it?
Yeah, it's usually good, quote unquote, with sport. Less so when we force those sports upon the world in our.
Yeah. Let's not worry for the purposes of the cheerleading episode how many of the sports created by Victorian British Empire got around the world. Let's not worry about that. I'm just asking, does it date back that far?
Yeah. So to the Victorian era, basically, and then through Ivy League universities into the United States.
Right.
So, yeah, and then on the 2nd of November 1898, a man named Johnny Campbell famously jumped onto the field during a Minnesota versus Northwestern American football game and led the crowd in chants and cheers. Minnesota won, and Campbell's recognised as being the first quote-unquote cheerleader, or cheerleading athlete at least, which is regarded sort of that is the origin story of cheerleading, the official origin story. And it was a men's sport at first, for the first half of the 20th century.
What, you mean we didn't let the girls do anything?
Sport, God forbid. Imagine what would happen to their... God.
Show an ankle back in the day and you'd have been in trouble, let alone do a backflip.
Absolutely. But yeah, so it was just signs, flags, dance routines and stuff. It's sort of the 1930s, 1940s onwards was when you first sort of got the sort of drilled aspect of it, performance cheer, and women started getting involved as well. Kate Crawford was a student at Edinburgh High School, not Edinburgh High School, Edinburgh High School. She created the Sergeanettes in 1930, which is basically taking military concepts sort of basically like parading,
like marching,
and marching and mixing it together with sort of high kicks and whatever else alongside the school band
in the 30s
at sports games. In the 30s,
Careful now with those high kicks.
Controversial.
Goose stepping.
And even so, women were sort of getting involved in the years in the 1930s and into the 1940s. It became much more of a women's sport. And can you guess why in the 1940s it suddenly became much more heavily female?
Because all the men were dying.
Yes. So obviously World War II, a lot of men left for military service. There were still American football games going on. As we've said, there's still baseball games going on. There's still a demand for people to cheerlead, and they became mostly female. And weirdly enough, it became about 85% female at that point. And men decided they quite liked that, and it became more popular as a result. And then a bloke called Lawrence Herkimer apparently conducted the first cheerleading clinic in Texas with 52 participants in 1949, which is sort of the start of organized cheerleading, as it were. And he founded the National Cheerleaders Association, and that expanded and standardized, and training routines and stuff spread nationwide. Innovations coming from that, pom-pom designs, better stunts and stuff like that. Or other organizations created as well. The United Spirit Association, which is confusingly USA as its acronym, was founded in 1950, and they introduced halftime shows at NFL games in the 1950s. So there you go, sort of the links between that and the NFL. And obviously NFL famously have a lot of famous cheerleaders, but none more famous than the Dallas Cowboys cheerleading.
Yeah, well, 25 of the 32 teams have got them, and I think all but 2 have had them at some point.
Yeah, we've mentioned this before. So so that's it. I mean, obviously there is a separation between, as Kelly said, pom-pom cheerleading and go team go and chants and stuff like that, and cheer the sport. But that it developed over time. Like teams were trying to excel and G up their team better, basically. So they're incorporating more tricks and more routines, more tricks and more stunts into their routines. And eventually this obviously led to competitions. So sort of from the early 80s, about 1982, competitions were not only happening, but they were being broadcast on ESPN, which obviously creates that snowball effect. More people wanted to get into this sort of competitive cheer environment. And through the 80s and 90s, that expanded and started to go global as well, including through, as we say, media. The sort of stereotype in the 90s of the cheerleader in teen movies, and obviously into the 2000s, as we've mentioned, in a lot of films, and that's obviously spread the concept worldwide. And so it's spread internationally to Japan, Chile, Germany, UK. As Kelly mentioned, Scandinavian countries are big on it as well. Followed the same sort of pattern as the USA, and eventually led to the World Championships in the mid-2000s. So that's
pretty cool.
Sort of it, really.
And with a steep increase in popularity in the last quarter of a century, which is
huge.
outside of America. I mean, that's very cool. That is very cool.
And there's different competition formats now, and in terms of its recognition as like a global sport, it was accepted into Sport Accord in 2013 as a world governing body, joined FISU in 2014, and provisionally recognised by the IOC, as we mentioned, in 2016 as well, and became a pathway sport. Was it a couple of years ago now? 2022 maybe?
Let's get it in the games.
Around there. Anyway,
let's go.
Became pathway sport. I just don't see any reason at all why this shouldn't be an Olympic sport. I just think it compares. You can mix sort of like 4 or 5 Olympic sports together, and you get cheer out of it. You miss sort of obviously gymnastics with sort of rhythmic gymnastics, and then like synchronized swimming, as I mentioned.
If people
and trampolining
are
and
allowed
everything
to do things like pretend sword fighting at the Olympic Games,
even diving, there's aspects of that.
Let's just get this team gymnastics event, what it is, into the games, because like there are too many sports that are there on a historical justification rather than on a sporting prowess justification, and this is one that has a sporting prowess justification but doesn't have necessarily the weight of reputation behind it. Let's change that.
Well, you know what we say. All sports are great. And like even these sports you're talking about that might not,
that I'm mocking,
if they were invented now, might not get into the Olympics, might not be so popular. They're still great because all sport is great.
Yeah.
I just think this is greater than a lot of sports that are already
exactly. If you were going to hierarchy them, like this is coming higher up the list than quite a lot of the ones that we've mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can't have every sport in the world.
Pentathlon? Do you know what I mean?
I'll be honest. I'll tell you what I'd take out of the Olympics. I'd take football out of the Olympics and put cheerleading in, because I think it's more worthy of being Olympic sport.
Just have them all. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
you could,
isn't that what
you
the
could
games
have them
are
all, but I think the Olympic Games should be the pinnacle of any athlete's career.
Yeah, I don't like under 21 football. I agree with that.
Exactly. Like if there's a sport, and I don't mean this generally, because obviously you could make the argument with cycling is an Olympic gold worth more than winning a Grand Tour or the Tour de France, especially. You could make the argument it isn't, but should cycling not be an Olympic sport? No, of course it should. It's still a huge deal. I just don't think it isn't enough in football. I don't love that rugby sevens is the option, but I admit logistically you couldn't do rugby 15s in the short period that the Olympics are on. So, it's a good compromise.
Yeah.
And 2020 cricket, when that's in,
makes sense.
In Los Angeles, makes sense. That's a good format to use. So I've got no problem with that being the format. But I think it's perfect. It would be the pinnacle of the sport. It wouldn't be a guaranteed Team USA gold, not least because, as we say, there are obviously other countries taking part. But as Kelly pointed out, as the sport is, one mistake, one mistake, and that's all it takes in the final run.
And also,
all or nothing.
Irrespective of whether it's a US gold, imagine I don't know the South American teams that are particularly good at this, but Chile you mentioned, like if Chile won a bronze, imagine the scenes.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Like I'm making noises because I just don't know how else to express my enthusiasm for cheerleading as an Olympic sport.
Yeah, like it could. Okay, yeah, USA might be the favourites and they might win, 4 out of the first 5 Olympics or whatever. Maybe make a mistake in one. Maybe they win 5 out of 5. Who knows what happens? Firstly, you still got silver medals being awarded. Still got bronze medals being awarded. That's a big deal too. And secondly, that ain't going to last forever in a sport like this. Yeah, they might have the
upper hand.
Greatest.
Yeah.
They might have the upper hand. They've got so many colleges doing it.
Do you know who would come a marching through?
This,
I know who would.
Imagine lottery funding.
Oh, we
put behind
would be sensational.
Cheerleading.
Let's get that absolutely straight. We're talking Olympics here. We would plough money into it and we would get good. The nation that worries me that I think would come steaming through is China.
China, yeah, absolutely.
They would get on board with this fast if it was an Olympic sport.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. You get a immediate competition for the USA. They've got so many athletes, so much funding, so much state funding goes into Olympic sports, and they've got people with the skill sets already.
Yeah,
they've got very, very lean, very, very muscular gymnastic men, and then obviously very, very talented gymnastic women you could probably push them together and see if they gel and compete pretty quickly.
That's the great thing, though. Like, we haven't even mentioned that about the merits of it for being an Olympic sport from this perspective. But it would be a mixed event, which would be
you could do all female, you could do mixed, you could do all male. No reason you couldn't.
Yeah, no, of course you can. But what I mean is like there are very few sports that are competed at the Olympics on a exclusively or predominantly mixed basis.
Suddenly not on the same floor, because you have team events like obviously the team event in the gymnastics, but they don't compete at the same time against one another. It's not mixed. It's a team event.
Yeah, you have a women's team and a men's team. You don't have a mixed team.
You're right, aren't you? You don't even have it mixed, do you?
No.
But even stuff where you do, and I struggle to think off the top of my head any examples, but
4x4 relay.
Yeah, again, but you don't.
They don't run. They're not allowed to run against.
All set up.
Yeah, they're not allowed to run against each other.
No,
anymore.
not anymore.
Yeah.
No, so they are competing on the same track as a team. So I guess that's probably the next best example. But they're not all there at the same time.
Just get it in the games, man.
Relying on one another. It's still like an individual sport done as a team, as opposed to a team sport where every little cog in that, no matter what sex they are, no matter where they are positioned, has to do their job perfectly. Otherwise, not only are you not winning the gold, but the whole thing could literally fall apart. I am being very enthusiastic about this, not just because I'm friends with Kelly and I've heard her being enthusiastic about this sport for 20 years for good reason. I'm enthusiastic about it because it's genuinely a good sport. Like, I don't see what the drawbacks are. The IOC have no excuse, especially Los Angeles. Disappointing.
What you mean? Like we said, like the IOC is just old people, establishment people in positions of authority, maintaining the status quo. It's astonishing they let breakdancing in.
It's astonishing they let flag football in.
Yeah.
As in flag American football. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm going to watch it and I'm going to love it. But, I mean, that's far more. I mean, USA are going to win the gold in that without even trying. It's not the same.
There's just like, I mean, I don't know how we even start a campaign. We're certainly not influential enough, but
probably by asking Kelly to please help Kelly.
Can you create the petition and we'll sign it?
I think there's nothing we can do that the tens of thousands of athletes around the world and who are competing at the Worlds currently aren't already doing simply by turning up and performing to such a high level. Like, it will be an Olympic sport eventually, and I guarantee it won't just be a flash in the pan. It's going to take off because there's a reason it's becoming so popular.
And if you want to watch it, I think, if my research is correct, and I'm confident. I think it's Flow Cheer, and they have a YouTube channel.
Cheer.
It's a streaming service. I think you can get it on Apple TV.
It's definitely on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Yeah, they definitely have a YouTube channel. And Roku, the thing that you sometimes see on the television.
Yeah.
The app is on there as well. So, yeah, that's where to watch it. If you're unpersuaded by us just saying, well, tune in for yourself, have a look, make an assessment.
I don't get why it's not. I genuinely, I know we are labouring this point, probably to the point where people are going to switch off on the idea. I don't get why it isn't yet. I don't get what's holding it back. Cheer, as the program Netflix, was so popular, and it's growing so quickly in so many countries. What's holding it back? Why is it not in Los Angeles?
Politics.
Why is cricket making a return? Why is flag football?
Well, because India backed cricket
in it. Oh, okay, fair enough. I don't hate the cricket in it. I think
politics.
At least they're playing
politics.
At least they're playing proper cricket, proper 2020 cricket. At least not like lacrosse is in it and they're playing 6-a-side. Great, don't mind that. That's okay. It's a slightly smaller version of the game, but it's still a popular version. Flag football shouldn't be in it. Squash is back. I'm okay with that. Baseball and softball are back. I'm okay with that. That'll be good to watch. There should be a place for it.
One day.
Yeah. Sigh.
Moment of silence for cheerleading's absence from the Olympics. But yeah, no, I think I think we probably have done all we can to make that point.
We've certainly gone on about it.
We probably should leave it there, shouldn't we? So, I mean, I'll say thank you to Kelly because I haven't yet, and good luck to not just Kelly and her team, but to all the teams. And hopefully we can bring home a few more medals and defend a couple of those titles. So I'm looking to you, Unity, if anyone from Unity All-Stars happens to come across this podcast.
I think they're probably too busy at the moment, but yeah, just tune in, get on YouTube. The more people watching it, the better. The more hits it gets from the UK, the more, if you've got kids, show it to your kids. If you've got a, school that does it or local club near you, look into it, spread the word. I mean, it clearly doesn't need our help. It's doing great on its own, ultimately. But the trajectory only has one final outcome. Just a question of when.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, lovely speaking to you.
And to you, mate. And I don't think you and I have strategized where we're going next.
I was trying to skip past that part of it. No, we got a few things coming up. There'll be a lot of football coming up with the World Cup, obviously, on the horizon. We talked today about the Isle of Man TT, which we'll do in May, which I will very much be looking forward to. And we've got the FA Cup final coming up, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on around us that we could have done, but, busy lives and all that.
Yeah.
Sport never stops, so there's always something we can do.
Yeah. So until next time, and we'll leave you on tenterhooks,
whatever it may be,
wondering what it might be. Yeah. See you soon, mate.
See you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today, and thank you particularly once again to Kelly Loughlin for gracing this podcast with more expertise than it's ever seen before, nor will again. If you enjoyed her presence, and yes, I'm absolutely using my friend for numbers, please share, leave a like or review, or tell one of your own far more talented friends and spread the word. Theme tune is Oh Yeah by Harmonia Productions. You can find us on Instagram and Blue Sky at The Sporting Almanac. Next up will be something. Yep. To be confirmed. Check the socials. Until then, wherever in the pyramid you are, remember sport is nothing without the history that makes it. Goodbye and good luck.